We're here with Mark with Short Action Customs at SHOT Show 2024, and we're going to walk through the new Nexus press.
Yeah, so this is the brand new Nexus press. It's at its official debut. We wanted to design a press that had super strong cam over action every single cycle, and we wanted to incorporate hard mechanical stops built in that physically limit the travel of the floating die block. So every single cycle, you have very strong and consistent pressure being applied, and you have the same exact amount of travel every time you pull the handle down. And the best part is it's completely independent of your die and your shell holder. So your shell holder and your die are not under any pressure unless you're sizing brass. So the shell holder has some radial float built into it. I'm sorry, the die does, and so does your shell holder, but the shell holder also has convex and concave geometry, so it's allowed to float to correct any type of angular misalignment if there were to be any. There's inherently not going to be any just because of how our floating die block is being brought down and compressed to the base. So everything's going to be extremely square and parallel, but there's just a very solid and consistent amount of pressure being generated every time. We also have interchangeable hard stops. So if you wanted to pop primers, you could simply put the thicker ones in. And what that does is that stops the travel of the die block before the linkage is allowed to cam over. So if you just wanted a hard stop for seating bullets, popping primers, expanding necks, you're able to do that. And we've got a toolless, quick change shell holder system. So you thread the primer drop tube down. Now your whole floating die block is allowed to come out. I'm sorry, your shell holder. And you can change out your shell holder if you need to. It's going to come standard with 4 different shell holders. And it's also going to come standard with one of our solo lock rings. Retail price is $775. All the material is 4140 pre-hardened that we machine, and then we nitride. And then all the aluminum is high-strength alloy that is Type 3 hard coat anodized.
Are you going to be required to use the primer drop tube, or is there going to be an option to not use that?
We've got dimensions going out to a couple different companies that are making riser mounts for it, so those will be available pretty soon as well. You do not have to use the primer drop tube. The thicker cam blocks can go in the back, and that'll fully retain the system if you wanted to pull out the primer drop tube. But one of the benefits of the primer drop tube is it's inline, and there's nowhere to go for the primers to go except straight down. We've got a dual detent retention system that interfaces with the die body itself. So you could use other style lock rings and your die will still sit in there just fine. We also designed it to where the floating die block has a 1-inch capacity. So you could run 1-inch or 7/8 dies. You would just need to swap out this top plate. So that way you've got that potential for future dies.
Okay. I think a lot of people are going to compare this to the coax. Can you specify exactly what makes your system different than the coax?
So the coax is a great press. We've used it for a lot of years. We like it. What I wanted to do differently is I thought it made more sense to bring the floating die block down against the base. I think that's a stronger way of doing it. We're also not using any cast iron. We're using high strength, pre-hardened steel. We also have a different retention system for the die. The coax, I don't believe you would have the ability of running any other size dies on it. We also have a ambidextrous handle that is perpendicular to what the coax is, so there's no transitioning of your hand during the stroke. And we like the coax. It's a great press, but I think the coax also doesn't have any way to have a hard mechanical stop built in. That's something that can only be achieved if you run your die down to your shell holder. If you need more sizing, you screw your die down. If you need less sizing, you screw it up. The shell holders are proprietary to the Nexus system, but we're going to have all sizes available. Yeah, to summarize, you completely eliminate this relationship between the die and the shell holder in respect to hard mechanical stop. So that's inherently built into the press. And I think that's one of the biggest breakthroughs that we have for the Nexus.
Okay. And what type of caliber limitation are we going to have based on the opening size?
There's about a 4.5-inch area here. So, I mean, you could seat, 3.38 Lapua Magnum on it. We designed it to handle those types of cartridges. If you have big 50 BMGs and some of the 416 Barretts and stuff like that, it's not really designed for that type of cartridge. Just like all of our products, it has a 100% lifetime guarantee.
And so just make sure not going to be restricted to your dies, though they will work in it, obviously.
Correct. Any 7/8 or 1-inch dies will be able to pop right in. It'll accept multiple style of lock rings from RCBS, Hornady, and Redding. We're really excited. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Mark.